Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Cricket Time Machine presented by the Muffed Podcast, your number one sports podcast. We look at cricket legends and their past and how they got here today and what makes them the legend they are. I'm your host, Lameter, and let's get into it. Whenever we mention Indian cricket, one of the first things we think of is the 1983 World Cup win. Today, I have one of the members from that triumphant squad with me, Mr. Kirti Azad. Mr. Azad, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And I hope all the uh, listeners, viewers of this are keeping safe and at home. And this pandemic has really done a lot of harm to the entire world. So we have to somehow or the other be strong and help out our brethren uh, to fight this COVID pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. During these uncertain times, I think everybody is just trying to look out for each other's safety, and I think that's what's important right now. How have you been keeping busy during this time?
Well, I'm a wild guy, actually, and I feel like a caged animal at home. Sometimes I manage to go to my office and see to it that it's absolutely sanitized before I reach there. And but haven't been able to do much, being a workaholic, not an alcoholic. I I really miss work, but I do go for my morning walks and do my exercises. Twice a week, I go and play cricket at this age because I'm planning to play A Division League. Uh,
That's great. All right, so let's get started then. So, growing up, what made you choose cricket? Why cricket? There are so many sports. Just what drove you to play cricket?
well, at the age of 3, I came from east of India, that is Bihar, with my father. He was the youngest member of First Indian Parliament in 1952. And when he
Hmm.
repeated his seat in 1962, I came as a 3-year-old boy along with him and I stayed in Delhi. My elder brother used to be the captain of his cricket team. And you know that cricket is a religion in our country. And I used to play a lot of badminton. And I started when my brother came to Delhi and joined university. He used to go for cricket. So I used to tag along with him with my plastic bat and go with him and be there at the ground. And slowly and surely, I got really uh, what should I say interested in the game of cricket, and that is how it all started. And then my coach saw me. He said that I was good, so he came to my father and he wanted to change my school because the school that I was studying in they didn't have any facilities for cricket. But the school that my coach was going for, he was coaching there in that school. He said that I would like to shift him there, and so I got shifted into a public school, and there it was. I started playing cricket.
That's great to hear. So uh, then you started playing Ranji Trophy for Delhi. What made you represent Delhi over Bihar? And how was the Ranji experience?
But to be very honest with you, I had become a complete Delhi wala because when I came to Delhi, all my schooling was here at Modern High School on Barakhamba, and then I went to St. Stephen's College, did my graduation from there in history. And when I was here in school, I got selected to play for Delhi schools and then for the North Zone schools. So we had zonal matches. We had 5 zones in India, and the North Zone represented 7 teams. So I got selected to play that. I captained for Delhi schools, and I got an opportunity when I got into college to play for the university. I captained the university. We were champions when I had 3 years graduation. I was captain for 2 years, and then I played the North Zone again university. Then I got called for to play for first class cricket. And while I was in school in 1976, I got an opportunity to play for the India under 22 side against the visiting England team, which came in 1976. And that was before I had joined college. But then that was a good starting point for me. I was only 17 years old at that time. And that is how it all started.
That's wonderful. I think I grew up in Delhi for 3 years, so I can definitely sort of sympathize with you, but it's just a different environment growing up in Delhi and playing cricket there. Even though I just know how to swing the bat a little, but it's pretty cool. So some of your most memorable cricket innings, cricket moments have come in Ranji Trophy cricket, and one in particular, the 215 runs against Himachal Pradesh in for Ranji Trophy match. How did you feel after scoring that double century?
Well, to be very honest with you, they were contemplating to drop me because my performance in the last three matches wasn't good. And when I came to know about that and said, "Well, this is your last chance," I'm a person who's very aggressive. My intent, I think, best art of defense is to attack. And you have various strategies in life. I'm very aggressive in the sense that I like to hit the ball. I mean, I would like to take the battle into the enemy's camp, and hence I came there. I just settled down and I said, bloody hell, whatever happens, who cares? And I started my aggressive intent. And within no time, from 35, when I started hitting, I got to 215 by in approximately 3.5 hours, which was really quick hitting. And I replied back. That was my reply to the detractors who wanted to drop me from the sides. And I got selected into the Indian team after that performance. So uh, I mean, I always feel that if you don't have your good days, if your good days are not there, even bad days won't stay with you. So you should keep on fighting. Practice makes a man perfect. Never leave anything. Go till the end. Fight, and that's what matters.
As they say, minor setback for a major comeback. So that's exactly what happened there.
That's right. Very true. Very true. I mean, our work is worship, and you should never leave it. Whatever you're passionate with. I mean, at the age of 61, I want to play a division league. And my coach said that you come and play with the youngsters who are 18, 19, 20 years old. So I think age is a matter of mind. I'm keeping myself fit. I do 7 kilometers of walk every morning. I do 1 kilometer of running, and I'm just toning up my muscles, do a lot of exercises, go practice twice a week. And that is what I'm doing. And I want to come back. I want to come back and play, maybe open the innings. You don't have to move your feet that much. So you can just play because the ball comes fast on you. All you got to do is do timing. But when you're playing the spinners at this age, you have to use your feet, and then you have to watch how much the ball is spinning, how much bounce is there. But with fast bowlers coming in, they are fresh at that time. They are just warming up before they come into bowl. So maybe with my experience, I can take a few runs of them in the beginning.
Definitely. So as you mentioned, your India debut came shortly after your brilliant Ranji innings of 215. I think you made your debut on the Australia tour, if I'm right.
Correct. 1980-81, Mr. Sunil Gavaskar was the captain. Kapil had been there for a couple of years. And we went to Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. It was 4.5 months. I was absolutely homesick by the end of the tour. But that was a great learning curve for me. And we saw some greats of Australian cricket who were world renowned, like Dennis Lillee. He was a brilliant bowler, very aggressive. He was always there on your face, standing right up there. Then you had a Rodney Hogg and a Lenny Pascoe. These guys were really quick at that time. And you had a great batsman in Greg Chappell. And a good youngster coming up was Alan Border. So it was a good side. It was a good experience. It was away from home. So met a lot of Indian people who really still carry on with the Indian tradition, customs, lovely Indian food and other things. So that's a big, vast experience. It was a great learning curve for me.
That sounds like a wonderful experience. What was the feeling that went through you when you first put on the India cap? What did you feel when you first represented your country at an international level?
Well, whatever job you want to do, whether you want to play cricket or you want to be a doctor, you want to be a scientist, you want to be a footballer, hockey player, badminton player, tennis player, blah, 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 blah. Whenever you do that, you want to be there. I mean, as a team, you want to represent your country. You represented your club, you represented your state, you want to now represent by good performance, represent your country. And once you represent your country, you want to do really good. I mean, if you want to be a doctor, you want to qualify to get into a hospital to get that experience. And then you specialize. And after you specialize, you want to be one of the best in your field. And that is what you should aim for. So it was a great feeling when you had played so well and got an opportunity to play for your country. which I think is the ultimate goal for any person, any sphere of life that he wants to specialize in. It's a great honor to be representing your country as a sportsman, and then to perform well and do something for your country. So that is, I mean, it was great. It was a fantastic feeling, and I never stopped from there.
Wonderful. So, as you said, Kapil Dev, Sunil Gavaskar, you played with some very wonderful cricket players. How did they influence your career as you played and as you continued your journey as a cricketer?
But Kapil and I were contemporaries in school, and then we grew up together. He went for his first trip to Pakistan in 78, 79. He was the new sensation fast bowler because Indians never had a fast bowler. They only had it around in the 30s and 40s in the 20th century, where he had Amar Singh and Nisar, um, Ahmed and others. But the actual all-rounder, the best ever, and nobody has been able to really achieve that feat what Kapil did. And so Kapil's, I think it was his third or fourth series. Mr. Sunil Gavaskar was obviously known as one of the best batsmen, opening batsmen in the world, and his performance says so. So these are people. Then you had Syed Kirmani, a great wicket keeper. Uh, so the team was fabulous with a lot of experience and youth there. So you feel really honored to be walking along with them shoulder to shoulder.
Definitely. I think many of these players you mentioned, Sunil Gavaskar, Kapil Dev, Syed Kirmani, they were all part of that World Cup winning team, the 1983 World Cup winning team. So I was watching a Chris Srikanth interview, and in that he said when we were going, that was just a layover for our trip to America. That was just none of us expected anything from that World Cup. Was that true?
Well, I was playing as a professional in England, in Lancashire, and you could have one overseas professional in a club that you played for. So I was playing for the Senior Lancashire League, and that was my very first year in England as a professional cricketer for the club. And I got a call from Kapil saying, "Oh, you've been selected for the World Cup team," and Kapil was the captain, obviously. So I just jokingly said that, "Oh, wow, 1 month's free paid holiday. We can tour across England and look at various places and play games because we were there were 8 teams and we were given odds just a second last, just before Zimbabwe 1 to 99, and that is what it was. And West Indies, by far best ever side, one-day team that ever has played cricket, with Australians having a very good team, with England having a very good team, New Zealanders doing so well. So we were right at the bottom. So obviously, what Krishnamachari said is what we used to discuss and laugh in the team meeting. Till the very first game we played against the West Indies, who had won the 2 previous World Cups, 75 and 79, since its inception. And this was the third. And we beat them in the very first game. So we obviously were very surprised and they had a few extra beers and said, bloody hell, we started well. And then Kapil getting a brilliant 175 against Zimbabwe at Tunbridge Wells, because it was a lost cause. It was 17 for 5, and that was an innings, which unfortunately is not recorded because some say that BBC was on strike, or I feel that BBC was not on strike. They thought India was no team, so they never came and recorded that game. They were doing West Indies and Australia and England. So because they were interested in those games, they said, India and Zimbabwe, nothing. But that is the best one-day innings ever played in the history of the game.
You actually beat me to my next question. I was going to say you're one of the very fortunate people to see what many call one of the best one-day innings. And I think you summarized it very well. I think 17 for 5 and just coming back from that and scoring such a massive total. And the pitch was covered, but still it was a wet wicket, and on a wet wicket you can't really play well. It's difficult to play on a wet wicket because when a ball is coming, say at 90 miles an hour, it hits the surface and then slows down because of the wetness, because of the wetness in the pitch. So it was very difficult to get runs because early wickets went down was just because of that. And then Kapil coming in and with Syed Kirmani putting up 140 or odd partnership,
out of which Kirmani scored, I think, 15 or 17. And this guy was going great guns. He was hitting sixes all around the park. And it was out of 240 odd we scored, it was 175 by Kapil. So you can imagine the kind of innings he played.
Right. So finally, then the journey was finally at its last part, the World Cup final. How was the feeling after winning the trophy when you were underdogs? David slaying Goliath, beating the two-time world champions. How did it feel?
Well, to be very honest with you, when we went to Lord's, which is called the Mecca of cricket at London, uh, St. John's Wood, uh, we went there, we saw the pitch, and all of us were really irritated with West Indies having the best fast bowling lineup ever that you can see in history. And it was a green top at Lord's. You generally expect that it should be a wicket, which is good for batting because when you're playing a one-day game, people want to see lots of fours and sixes, lots of runs being scored. And here we are playing at Lord's with about half an inch of grass on top. So obviously the ball was going to move, it was going to come up, and playing against these four menacing fast bowlers of the West Indies was a really tough task. But anyway, we played, we lost the toss, we batted first and got out for 183. And obviously 183 is nothing for the West Indian team. So anyways, we were sitting, we were very gloomy, dressing room or whatever. But Kapil was one man from the beginning till the end. He said, never say die. That guy was just too good. He said, okay, guys, this may not be a winning total, but this is a fighting total. So, guys, come on, let's fight. And then we had an early wicket of Gordon Greenidge. Then Haynes and Viv Richards started hitting the ball. It seemed as if they'll finish it within 25, 30 overs. Till Kapil took that brilliant catch running backwards. And after that, we never looked back. We won the game by 40 innings. We pinched each other back in the dressing room. There was no champagne because we never expected we'll win. So I quietly sneaked into the West Indian dressing room, and there were these Magnum champagnes chilling because because obviously they had won the game. They never thought they'd lose it. So I quietly went there and I said, well, made an expression, it's lying here. So, go, take it. There was a word used explicit in between. I said, thank you very much. So I had one Magnum here, and two in my hand, and I went into the dressing room and we enjoyed the champagne.
That's wonderful. So now let's look at your cricketing career as a whole. Let's look at some international highlights. I think one has definitely got to be dismissing Ian Botham in the four-way series in England in the semi-finals, which turned out to be a very crucial wicket.
Well, the England team was going really well, and those days, if you score around 4.5, 5 runs, used to be big average. Nowadays, you get 7 or 8 very easily. People are hitting and doing whatever. During our time, the bats are not this big. I mean, I can make 2 bats of the ones that they play with these days. So bats are not great. Pitches were not covered. I mean, even if they were covered, sometimes if it rained, it couldn't be covered the way it is covered now. The equipment was not that good. But anyways, having said that, that's got nothing to do with this. The English side was doing really well at about 96 for 2 in 14 or 15 overs. And then Kapil made Jimmy Amarnath bowl from one side and I started bowling from the other. The wicket was slow and low. It wasn't coming up. It was a good summer's day. It was really hot, typically Indian. It was about 34, 35 degrees, if I may remember correctly. And he bowled 12 overs from one end. I bowled 12 overs from one end. I started blowing slower because if the ball doesn't come onto the bat, it's really difficult to make any stroke or hit it out. So I said, if the wicket is slow and low, let me bowl slower. So that is the kind of strategy that I used. And Ian Botham, who was one of the best hitters of the ball and obviously a renowned world all-rounder who did so well as an all-rounder in international cricket, he was batting and getting frustrated. So he did one reverse sweep to me and got 2. So I knew now this guy is getting frustrated. I have to be careful and not let the ball go up to him. And then I bowled a slower one, which pitched and went only about an inch or a couple of inches or an inch higher than the ground. And it hit the bottom of the bottom of the wicket, and so stump, and there he was out. And so Jimmy and I, Mohindra Manath and I, we bowled 24 overs amongst us. We gave 55 runs and got 4 wickets. So that is where we stopped the juggernaut of the English side. And then obviously we all know that the Indian team with just 4 wickets down did really well. I was the next one to go in. I was itching to go and hit a couple of boundaries, but then I didn't get an opportunity. But then, yes, that was a great moment. I bowled 12 overs for 27 runs and I got this wicket. So it was the top 10 economical bowling all time till about 5, 6 years ago.
That is wonderful. So then the other one, obviously the big fish here, the 71 runs against Pakistan and taking all 3 wickets. That is
Ah,
definitely.
yeah, it's a great pleasure to beat Pakistan. And if you personally done so well, I remember they were playing really well. They won 97 for 3 in 50 overs. And when I got into bat, we were 75 for 5. No, we were 55 for 5, 75 for 7 when Madan Lal and I started hitting. And I hit them all over the park in the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium. And those sixes were huge because the boundary was 110 yards and I was still hitting 40 or 50 yards beyond that. And it was the last over. Zahir Abbas, one of the greatest batsmen in the world, was was bowling the last over. Balwinder Sandhu, the number 11 batsman, was at the other end, and we needed 3 runs to win. And 3 balls I had to stop because the wicket was turning, and this guy was really hitting the track. So it was hitting the track and coming into you. And then suddenly the fourth one that he bowled didn't turn. It kept straight and didn't keep low. So that was the opportunity. I just hit it, cut it back to third man for a 4, and we won the match by 1 wicket.
That's got to be a great feeling beating your biggest rivals, I'd say, and then just a huge contribution in that match. I think you were like the sole shining light of that match, along with Madan Lal. Um, so those were some of the key moments I picked out from your career. Obviously, if you play any level of sports, like even backyard cricket with my brothers, the highest score does not mean the best innings or most memorable time. What was the most memorable experience from cricket for you?
Obviously, the World Cup win. Personally, if you say the two things that you've discussed just now, Ian Botham's wicket and the victory against Pakistan when I single-handedly made India win. Other memories are as a schoolboy. I remember we had these arch rivals. You know, we used to have a derby game versus the Delhi Public School on Mathura Road, and every time we beat them, and every time I got 100. So these are memories. And obviously, Ranji Trophy, Mumbai was Bombay at that time was a very great side with 7 or 8 test players with Sunil Gavaskar, Sandeep Patil, Dilip Vengsarkar, Ravi Shastri, Karsan Ghavri, and so many others who were there in that side. And it was really difficult to beat them. But in the 80s, we dominated. And it was taught to us by our former India captain and Delhi captain, Mr. Bishan Singh Bedi, who taught us how to go in for victories. Because before he came in, we had never won a Ranji Trophy. And in
Mm-hmm.
78, 79 series, we won. 79, 80, I played. That was my first final, and I got my 100. And that is very memorable to me because I hit Padmakar Shivalkar, who would have easily played for India had Bishan Singh Bedi not been there. And I got from my 82 to 100 with 3 sixes. I hit all 3 were hit of Padmakar Shivalkar. So that is one innings that I can never forget. That was an innings which brought me into international cricket, limelight into international cricket.
Right. So obviously, your cricketing career was sometimes hot and cold, but you had your share of successes, like the Pakistan game, and obviously domestically you performed exceptionally. So then you tried out your luck in commentary. I think that's been. How's that experience been?
Well, look, I did commentary. It pleased me so much. I mean, I was still learning after having retired and doing commentary. And then when you are talking about somebody making a mistake, reminds you the same mistake you had made earlier. So you know, so it's basically a learning process, and you never cease to learn. You always learn. Even when you're dying, you're still learning. Oh, this is the way to die. So you know, it's always a learning curve, and you should always be looking forward for an opportunity to learn anything new. And I'm like a kid when I hear some certain things from people, and that is what matters. Because for me, the age, the date of birth age, or the year of birth age doesn't matter. It matters you're mature here. How's your body and how's your heart? If that is young, that's it. Doesn't matter.
That is wonderful. So you've watched your share of cricket, I assume, if you were a commentator. So who are some of the new cricketers you enjoy watching?
To be very honest with you, Lamitra, I haven't been following cricket so much. But lately, yes, Virat Kohli has been doing really well. He's very consistent. And the best part is that his he is there whenever India wins. He always scores runs when India wins, when India needs it. And you need a captain who has proved himself in all three, and he leads by example. So I think he's the latest sensation in the country at the moment. And I hope he keeps on doing this human service for the country for years to come.
All right. So then, last section of the interview, we'll have some quick fire questions. I'll name two things. You have to choose one. All right.
Oh my
Let's
God.
start with batting or bowling.
All rounder.
All round. That's a good answer. As a captain, you've probably seen MS Dhoni. MS Dhoni or Kapil Dev?
Kapil Dev.
Virat Kohli or Sachin Tendulkar?
Virat Kohli.
Virat Kohli or Kapil Dev?
You can't compare the two. One is an all-rounder and the other is a batsman.
That's a good answer. Playing versus Australia or playing versus Pakistan?
Ha ha ha. Now that is interesting. Well, I'll give you single answers, but there'll be two. If I have to, beat really team, smash somebody to pulp would be Pakistan. And if I want to see the kind of aggression and competitiveness, it has to be Australia.
That Australia still to this day is a very competitive team. I think it's.
Oh yes, they are. They are fighters.
They're very aggressive on the field, sledging and all that stuff. I think you've probably had your fair share of experiences with sledging in the locker room. Some of the most fun locker room moments. So next question is, who's the funniest teammate you've had in the locker room, or just in general, funniest teammate?
Sandeep Patil.
And finally, who is the coolest, calmest teammate you've met, or opponent works as well? Just laid back, nothing phases them. They're always there. They're just nice and laid back. Mr. Cool.
Mr. Cool would be the Muhammad Ali of cricket, who has had great comebacks. That is Jimmy Amanat, Mohinder Amanat.
All right. So that almost concludes our interview. Just one last thing. For the younger players that are growing up now, who are trying to achieve their dream of playing cricket for India, or just for their enjoyment, what would be some advice you'd give them?
Practice makes a man perfect. Work is worship. You have to work hard to achieve anything, and work harder to maintain that position. So obviously, you should be humble enough to learn, aggressive enough to win, and cool enough to have a lager after a match.
So a balance of all three. Perfect. Once again, I'd like to thank Mr. Kirti Azad for joining us for this interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. This was the Muffed Podcast. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Also, go check out Spotify and Apple Podcasts by the name The Muffed Podcast. Thank you.